Oh, hi. Welcome, guys. Um, as you know, on this channel, I usually talk about movies. I'm a big movie fan, but I'm an equally huge gamer. I like them just as much. And in fact, I do a podcast with a bunch of cool guys called The Perfectly Sane Show, where we talk about video games every week. Um, and it's available on iTunes if you want to check it out. It's also, if you just want to listen from your browser, it's on vagary.tv. But I was kind of figuring, well, I talk about games every week and whatnot, but why not do it on here too? I mostly talk about movies, but why not talk about games here and there, which I already kind of do, but I figured I'd just kind of talk about what I'm currently playing. So, welcome to the first episode of Currently Playing. I'll try to update this as much as possible whenever I'm playing new or different games. It will be a little slow going at first just because there's not a lot of games coming out. I'm kind of hoping for the Summer of Arcade on Xbox Live to save that. But, anyways, let's get right down to it and talk about what I've been playing recently. Now, I picked up a very hot title last week. No, it wasn't Max Payne. No, it wasn't Diablo 3. It was close enough, though. It was Lord of the Rings War in the North. And I know this game got shit on a lot, and including by me. There's a little history to this, and the thing was, I was kind of pissed off all last year with the action RPG slash dungeon crawler genre. I just feel like developers can't get it right anymore. Um, you had Daggerdale, which was fun, but it had a lot of bugs. You had Dungeon Siege, which just sucked. And it's things like in Dungeon Siege. Dungeon Siege is a perfect example where it had online multiplayer, but it wouldn't let you bring your character into the game. Like you basically would go into your friend's game and basically pick a generic character and play with them, and you don't get to take any of your experience or any of your loot or any of that with you. It's like, what's the point? Why would you do it like that? And it just felt slow. It felt a little off. It's just so messed up because it seems like a genre that's so easy to do right, and developers just are like, I forgot how to do this. You had games last generations that are better than any of the ones they did on the current consoles. You had, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. You had Champions of Norath. Which kind of brings me to my current game that I'm going to talk about. This War in the North was done by Snowblind Studios, who did Champions of Norath. Now, I only played a little bit of Champions of Norath, but it seems similar to Baldur's Gate, which is a game I absolutely just love. The one thing I didn't like about Champions of Norath from my brief playtime with it is it didn't have a jump button, which seems like a nitpick, but I just remember when I played Baldur's Gate, I loved running around as the dwarf and just going, "Humph, humph, humph." Like I don't know why. And there were parts where they used platforming. I remember there was one section where you had to jump across all these little suspended circles, and they would fall as you're jumping across them. So it had a little platforming to it. I love that about it. But anyways, I had really high hopes for Lord of the Rings War in the North. I had it pre-ordered well over a year before its release because it was supposed to come out a year before it released. They delayed it over and over. It was actually then supposed to come out in August of last year, and they finally released it in November, which is just the stupidest thing they could have done. And I guess my friends told me Snowblind doesn't exist anymore now because of this. And it's Warner Brothers' own fault. You shouldn't have released this game in November. It should have came out in August. Or earlier. It should have came out in the dead of summer when some people might have played it. But anyways, that's a whole, side note. I had high hopes because it's Snowblind Studios. They did Champions of Norath. And I figured maybe with all the delays, they were just polishing the shit out of this. And it was going to be amazing. I saw it at PAX East last spring, and it didn't look that hot, but at the same time, I'm like, they don't make these types of games anymore. At least not that much. I mean, outside of Diablo, you don't got a lot of choices. There's like Diablo and Torchlight. They're both kind of PC games, and I'd rather play these games on console. And you have Snowblind, who has this pedigree behind them. They made Champions of Norrath, which, as far as everyone is concerned, is one of the best dungeon crawlers of last generation. And then you came out with this, and when it first came out, I was getting kind of iffy about it. I'm like, it was getting kind of bad press. I was like, well, I'm gonna rent it before I actually buy it. I had it pre-ordered for over a year, but I was like, I'm gonna rent it, and I got fucking pissed. I don't know. When I tried it out, it was like there were two things that stood out to me. Well, one of them was that it felt like it would cage you into areas and make you fight wave after wave of enemies, kind of like a horde mode, over and over and over. And that kind of pissed me off. And it continues throughout the game. Like, you always have to kill every enemy in the area before you can move on to the next segment of the level. But at least for the most part, it's not wave after wave of enemy. You just have to kill whatever's there, and then you can move on. The other thing that I didn't like off the bat, is I didn't feel like I was finding enough loot and enough cool loot. But it came to last week. I was out of new games to play. I still had the $5 down on this game, and it's down to $20 now. So I picked it up on the cheap. And honestly, for $20 or less, it's not a bad deal. Honestly, it grew on me as I played it. There is some cool loot in the game, and that's really what these games are all about. The story is weak, but honestly, I don't play these games for the story. It's like basically you start off like trying to clear the way for Frodo and his fellowship, and then like it goes into this other thing where there's this other evil dude that you're going after. I mean, the story is just, if you're playing these games for story, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion. Dungeon crawlers are all about the loot and killing things, and then getting bigger and better weapons and armor so you can kill bigger and badder foes. And that's all they have to be about, in my opinion. Now, one of the criticisms against this game is that it's repetitive as well, which it is. It's really repetitive. It's just over and over and over the same thing. But the thing about it is, it's a dungeon crawler. Like, they're all kind of repetitive. They're all kind of the same shit. Like, the fun in it is getting new weapons and armor, and then running into like these cooler enemies, like bigger, taller enemies, and going to different worlds or different levels, and then this has a good variety of places you go. Like, there's snowy mountaintops, there's mines, some crazy shit in there. I mean, it's generally good. It is very repetitive. There could have been a little bit more variety in enemies, but it's set in this universe, this Lord of the Rings universe, where you're mostly going to be killing orcs and shit. But yeah, I like it. It's, as it was getting near the end, I felt like is giving me that, scratching like that item porn itch, like where I was just getting like these badass swords that were like fucking 7 feet tall. And had shock damage and stuff like that. Like, that's what I played these games for, and I felt like I was, getting these swords and axes that were cool. Of course, I played as the dwarf in the middle. I just always choose the warrior type class. Like, I don't go for the archer or the sorcerer that much, or sorceress in this, or the mage, or whatever you want to fucking call them. Sometimes I'll do the mage, but I don't do the archer that often. One thing I didn't like about it at first, too, is that it doesn't have that classic top-down, like, overhead view that the most dungeon crawlers have. They went with, like, a standard third-person action camera angle on this, and I think the reasoning was that they wanted the projectile, like, the ranged weapons to feel like a shooter. I think that's kind of a misguided attempt to make it appeal to a crowd that isn't going to be into this type of game anyways. Like, every game nowadays wants to be a shooter and wants to be a Call of Duty. But I got over it pretty quick. Like, that was one of the things that, like, upset me when I first tried it out. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the gameplay is still pretty much the same. And, the ranged weapon stuff is better than it's going to be in a top-down game. I just didn't use it that much because I'm the dwarf. Like, If there was someone I couldn't reach, I would pull out my crossbow. But for the most part, I'm fucking slamming motherfuckers with my hammers and my axes and my swords. Um, but and then I mean the thing I like about this game, besides the fact that it has loot in it, is the combat in it is fun to me. It's simple, but it gets the job done. It's basically X button to attack, Y button heavy attack, B button roll. Hold down the right trigger and it pulls up your special moves on your face buttons. Um, and I just kind of like the flow of it. Like you go in, you hack a couple times with the X button, the enemy will try to hit you back. You roll out of the way with B, come back at him, and they have these cursors, like these white like cursors over the head. And when they turn yellow, that's when you can do the critical attack. And the cool thing about that is when the critical attack is you use the Y button. Is the game earns its M rating on it. You're either gonna you know behead the orc or cut one of its limbs off, and it does it in violent cinematic fashion. Will sometimes slow it down and do it from like a kind of different angle. And I like it. I like the way the combat feels. So yeah, it's repetitive. It's not perfect. There are problems with it. For instance, you're always playing with 3 characters, but you're always controlling your one guy. You can't level up the other characters. You have to like swap out between levels, or like quit the game and go back in as someone else, and you get to level them up. And not just that, you can't just like save. You have to like make it to the next checkpoint. So you're kind of forced to play as other characters a couple times just to level them up, to keep them up to pace with you. Like that is definitely, I think, a big issue they could have easily fixed. I don't know why they would do it like that. But at the end of the day, it's $20 now. It's not that bad. And another thing is, no matter what the price, it's pretty good value in terms of how much hours of content you're gonna get out of it. I think I got roughly 20 hours out of it. It's which is nothing to stick your nose up at for action RPGs or any genre nowadays. A 20-hour game is significant. So it's long. The combat is fun, although it may be repetitive. It's fun. It's fun. Action RPG combat, and there's loot. There's cool loot in it. So I can't really complain. At $20, I've gone on about this for like ever now, but I think Lord of the Rings: War in the North was worth it. And by the way, yeah, I did beat the game like 10 minutes ago, and it looks like you can play through it again with all of your stats and equipment, which is cool. That's all I've really been playing for the last week. The only other thing I played was Mario Tennis Open for the 3DS, which I didn't buy. I rented it, and I have to say I really enjoy it. To me, there's only one tennis game that matters, and that's Mario Tennis. Maybe that's because I lean towards arcade style gameplay when it comes to racing games and sports games, but I don't know. It's just the only one I've ever cared about. This one, according to like reviews, it got pretty mixed reviews. It's kind of bare bones. It's kind of like how Nintendo's been treating like the Mario Kart series lately, where it's just kind of like, here's Mario Kart, no frills. I guess, I mean, I've played Mario Tennis since it first came out on the N64. And to me, and I played all the console ones, and to me this is the best console one. Or, it's not a console, it's a handheld one, but it's better than the console ones I played. I guess have been handheld ones that had the kind of RPG elements that the handheld Mario Golfs had, like Mario Golf Advanced Tour, which I thought was an amazing game. So I think reviewers are kind of disappointed it doesn't have that RPG element to it, but the gameplay itself is as good as it's ever been, and it has this twist to it that I don't remember from the previous ones, which is where the shot is going to land, it'll sometimes throw down a color, like a color circle. So it's kind of showing you where you have to go to hit where the ball's going to land. But the color also tells you what button you could press. It's telling you, like, so why or purple is the Y button, and that'll be like I think it was like a straight shot or something, or like yellow means you have to press AB, which is like I think it's a lob shot, or gray is like BA, which is like a drop shot. It's all these different special shots that makes it harder for the other player to respond to. And I thought that just added like an element of strategy, like a layer of depth that maybe I didn't notice before because I didn't do that because I don't remember it. But I liked that. I thought that was really cool. And I was really enjoying playing through the single player on that game. Like I want to get it. I feel $40 is a bit much, but I want it. Um, I thought I was getting really good at it because I was learning all these colors and stuff. Which, if you learn the colors, you're gonna kick the fucking campaign's ass. But I went to play one game online. This guy just demolished me, man. Like I don't think I got a single point against him. So look out for the people online. If you think it's gonna be a fun online game, well, you better be really good at Mario Tennis. But anyways, this is getting kind of long. I think YouTube upped my length of my videos. I still haven't figured out the issues with my webcam and my browsers. I'm just recording on my, recording to my desktop and uploading it. But yeah, it's getting kind of long. But that's all I played this week. Mario Tennis Open. Is it a buy? If you're hard up for something on the 3DS or a huge fan of Mario Tennis, yes. Otherwise, I hate to say this, I'd wait for a price drop, even though Nintendo games never drop in price. Lord of the Rings War in the North, it's $20, man. If you think you're gonna like it, give it a chance. I mean, you might hate it, but I didn't hate it at all. At the price I paid for it, I was like, I got more than my money's worth, and I might even play through a little bit of it on, the New Game Plus, with where I come in with all my extra stats and play on a higher difficulty. But yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. I don't know what I'll be playing next because it's a real dry spell right now. So it might be some really random shit. But I'll update you on what I've been playing. And as always, thanks for watching. And who knows what I got for movies coming up. But like I said, thanks for watching, guys.